One of the most popular shows we have is when we have the youth pastors out. And tonight I have a group of them with me, and so I want to ask you a question right off the bat. What's the funniest thing or funniest question that you had asked as a youth pastor?
Well, the funniest thing that I've ever had happen to me was this past weekend, actually, a couple of my guys from our youth group broke into our house, stole all our light bulbs, took my briefs, wetted them down, and stuck them in our freezer. So I got home and I had a solid block of briefs and no light whatsoever. And it was dark when we got home.
And you're wearing those briefs right now, aren't you?
That was a real hoot. Yeah. That was funny. That was hilarious.
One of the things we had a kid that was supposed to invite a girl to one of our meetings, and he goes, "Hey, this is my girlfriend." And one of our leaders said, "Hey, what's her name?" And he goes, I just can't come up with her name. And we thought that was funny.
Yeah. Maybe you had to be there for that.
Yeah, you had to be there, baby. Well, it was like somebody asked, "What's your wife's name?"
That wasn't bad. You know, these guys joke around a lot, but they deal with some serious issues. When we get back, they're going to definitely answer some tough questions that young adults asked. I'm Mike Romanowski, and this is Straight Talk from Teens. Welcome back. I've got some youth pastors out to answer some tough questions. Let me introduce them. First, I have Kip Nanninga from Cape Road Alliance. We have Buck Sutton, who is the director of Teens for Christ chapter. We have Jimmy Menke from New Hope Christian Center. And with us, we have Tim Lewis from Shawnee Alliance Church. Thanks for coming out, guys. Always a joy to be with you guys. Sometimes,
it's
right?
a real joy.
Well, you know, there's several questions. We get questions on our email. We get our helpline calls in, and so the audience is certainly going to ask some. But I want to start off with some of the media that's out now. You've got The Sixth Sense, Blair Witch Project. One of the questions that come in is there really ghosts?
Well, I'd say, like, first of all, like with this, the whole rush right now that's going on with the Blair Witch Project, you know, a lot of people think, man, this is real, and there really was a ghost behind the camera and all this stuff. And in all essence, there was no truth to it at all. The Blair Witch Project wasn't real. It wasn't true. It was just a documentary made up by some college kids, and man, they're making, I just heard today, $133 million, man.
Wow.
But as far as ghosts, I would say yes, very much so. There are ghosts. Better known as demons, from what the Word of God says.
Okay.
So I'll let somebody else.
I concur.
Okay, let me get a question from the audience. Right? Good.
If you're saved, then can you be possessed by demons?
Falls right up on that.
I think you can be oppressed,
Yeah.
but not possessed. I think that the demonic, the spiritual warfare that's going on around you can bring you down. You can be oppressed with demons. I don't think that a demon could actually live within you if Jesus Christ lives in your heart, because I don't think the two mix. The Spirit of God dwells there. I think it's like water and oil. They just don't mix.
Well,
I think you can be oppressed.
The light and darkness cannot reside next to each other. You cannot have the Spirit of God dwelling in the midst of a demon.
Exactly.
Or vice versa.
Good. Another question?
If the Bible tells us not to drink, why was there wine at the Last Supper?
Buck Sutton's got a great...
Yeah, I've been thinking about this for a long time. That's a good question. You know, you hear a lot of people say that wine was not fermented, and you get this conservatives that say that wine wasn't fermented. Then you also hear other people on the side saying it was fermented, but then the Bible would say do not get drunk with wine. So I pass this on to Tim because I know Tim's got the answer.
Well, is there any problem with, for example, you know, I'm 21 years old. What's the matter? I'm not, but 21 years old. You know, you go out. Why can't I have a beer to my friends? I'm a Christian. What's the big deal?
Well, the Bible does tell us that we have to be very careful about being a stumbling block to those around us. And I think, what's that? He's making fun of me over here. I don't want to do this anymore.
You got no choice.
And there's a lot of cultures in the world that are completely different. And now I'm not making an opinion and trying to tell you guys if you go to Germany or if you go somewhere else, hey, it's okay to drink. But the fact is in our culture, we view it as an older age thing. We view it as especially we still are a very religious society. So, you know, one of the ingrained things in our society is that it is wrong to drink. If you're a Christian, you don't drink. The things don't, it just doesn't, they're not compatible. But you guys are really making me nervous here. With the Bible telling us not to be a stumbling block, I think that's one of the things that we really have to be conscious of is what's the image that we're presenting? You know, what do people have, what kind of opinion do they have they formed of us? as a result of the things that we're doing that they, in their mind, and then as a result of our culture, view as wrong and right.
So if it doesn't hurt your witness, it's all right to drink then? If I drink alone in my house, is that a problem?
Real quick story. Let's say you go to the grocery store, you buy a 6-pack of beer, you've got a head of lettuce, a box of Fruity Pebbles, a bag of diapers, you got all kinds of stuff in your cart, you go through the line, beep, 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 total, you pay it and you go home. What harm? No harm, no foul, right? Well, let's say 3 weeks later, you're at a Christian event and the young lady that rang you up at the store sees you and she's talking to you about alcoholism and how she's struggling with that. And you say, well, you know, you really need to let that go and give it to God and whatnot. And she says, well, you drink. And you're going to say, oh, no, but I don't. Oh, no, you do. You see, several weeks ago, I rang you up at the store. And there's no explaining to that young lady that oh, well, I only drink once every, year, and that 6-pack will sit in my fridge for the next year, and only one will go. I mean, the harm is done. You know what I think is just, there are certain sacrifices that I think we should just take as Christians and not do, just to help our witness and to better people. And as Jimmy was saying, it's a cultural thing. You know, you go to Germany, people don't struggle with drinking as much as they do here as far as young people, because it's not a gigantic stumbling block. Now, I'm not saying move to Germany and start drinking,
Right.
Kip, but
Good. We got a little bit of time left. We get back, you'll answer quite a few other questions. We get back, we'll answer some questions, and also you can call us here at 1-800-390-TALK. We'll be right back.
Get interactive. The Straight Talk from Teens website goes places that others dare not to go. It's at your fingertips. Find out what's coming up on upcoming shows. You can email Mike at WTLW.com and get important follow-up information about tonight's topic on the World Wide Web at WTLW.com/Straight Talk. The Straight Talk from Teens website, WTLW.com/Straight Talk. Straight Talk from Teens on the web.
Hey, thanks for sticking with us again. You can call us here at 1-800-390-TALK throughout the show. If you have a question or any issue that you're dealing with, there's people here that would love to talk to you. You guys ready? Question right there. Go ahead.
Do you believe that there are fruitful aspects about casual dating in high school, or do you believe it's even okay?
don't ever date. Next question.
No, Tim can't answer that. He hasn't dated, so he's out.
Casual dating as far as not being exclusive with one person. Is that right, Mike?
Yeah.
Okay. I just was clarifying. I don't want to answer.
Oh.
One at a time.
I would say, all right, I'll dive in.
You're going to have so many parents
I'd say
call you.
Real quick, I would say, I think God has allowed us to date, so, you know, it comes back to the saying, date so you know who will be your mate. There you go. But I think there are great aspects with dating different people in that you can take qualities from from different people to know who you want to marry. And at the same time, though, I would say within the bounds, God has already stated in His Word, which would be date only those who are believers. So
set boundaries when you date. I mean, set boundaries. Talk it over with your parents. I know that sounds really cheesy, very cliche. You don't want to talk to your parents about dating, much less anything else. But talk to your parents about it. Say, Dad, Mom, what time do you want me home? And stick to that boundaries. Date within groups. I mean, have fun with it. I think kids should date, and I know I'll probably have some of my parents or different people call me on that. But, you know, date and have fun. But, man, don't get into the marriage. You know what I mean? I mean, don't treat a dating situation as if it's a marriage. It's just tough. Set boundaries. Set boundaries.
Let's say you mess up those boundaries. And,
yeah.
And a question we have is if you have sex and then you break up with that individual, or would that person be considered divorced in God's eyes? Follow me on that?
Wow, that's a good question. You know, I would say if you go back to Genesis 2, where God made a covenant. When you get married, you're making a covenant in front of God, and it has nothing to do with sex. So I would say that it's the covenant when you leave and cleave, your mom and dad, and you come together, and through a wedding ceremony, that covenant, that's the marriage. The marriage would not be when two people have sex. That's just a physical act. So they would not be considered married if they just had sex.
So how do